Hey guys, it's John from WalkThroughCode. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to get all this stuff from the reducers to the store, and then we're going to set the store up and connect the store to our app, which is awesome. So let's get started. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to add a file called index.js to the reducers. What this is going to do is that this is what's going to combine all the reducers together and then ship it off to the store. So let's do that. So first things first, we need to import the reducer that we created. So we're going to say import todos reducer from, and we can do this without the curly brackets because we're exporting it as default. So that means that we can change it. If we look in our actions file, we're just exporting, ooh, that would have broken. If we just exported a particular const, we would be exporting multiple things, in which case we would have to wrap this as such, but we are exporting it as default, so we can use it like this. That's an ES6 thing, by the way. The whole import thing is, by the way. Anyway, to import todos reducer from /todos.reducers, and maybe we should make that reducer. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Then what we need to do is we need to import something from the actual Redux itself. So we're going to import combine reducers from Redux. And then what we'll do here is we'll say const root reducer equals combine reducers. This takes an object as a parameter, and all we need to do is basically just give the particular state a property. In other words, here we're going to have to-dos, and that's going to take on what the to-dos reducer, what that exports. A common way to write this is actually import to-dos. That way we can just say import to-dos like that. And so yeah, we could think about it this way. Let's say that we had like import like users from users reducer, then we could say to-dos and users, and then we would, on our actual state, our store state, I should say, we would have a to-dos property and a users property. We don't need a users property in this case, but that's kind of the premise of combine reducers. And then what we need to do is we need to export default root reducer. So this is combining this is essentially what's creating the object that will become store state here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to that store.js file, and here's where we're going to create the new version of the store and stuff. So we're gonna add a couple of other things as well, just to kind of make it a little bit more visually appealing. But let's say import apply middleware. The middleware that we're going to add is going to be what they call Redux logger, which is just kind of it. Basically, in our console, it'll track when things are fired, what the actions themselves are, and it's just it makes debugging and explaining much easier. So we're going to use apply middleware for that. Then we're going to have what's going to actually create the new version of the store itself from Redux. Then we're going to import our root reducer. So import root reducer from /reducers. And we can do /reducers because if you have an index.js or an index.whatever, right? You know how if you serve a particular directory and it has, serve on the server, I should say, and it has an index.html file, you don't have to serve that file in particular, if that makes any sense. The same premise goes for full JavaScript files. So if you have an index.js and you import it from /reducers, it's essentially saying /index, and that'll just run it that way. Anyway, so now we're importing that. We need to import. We're going to install this all in a minute here, but let's just for now. Let's say import logger from Redux logger. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to export default a function. And what this function's going to do, we actually don't even need this. What this is going to do is this is going to allow us to create a new instance of state every time this function from the store itself is fired. So we're going to say return create store, and this store is going to take two parameters. It's going to take the root reducer, and it's also going to take the apply middleware that we have. And since logger is one of those middlewares, we can just say logger. And that should do it for that. Now that we've created this whole store, though, if we go back here and we look, so we have combined all the reducers together. We have created a new version of state, or rather, we created the function that will do that. Redux will do it in the index.js file, which we'll see in a minute here. So now what we have to do is we have to connect it to our actually React app. So when the app is re-rendered, it knows what to do, if that makes any sense. But the point being is, so we're going to go into the source directory in the index.js file, not the reducers index. And we're going to manipulate a couple of things. So one thing that we're going to do is we're going to clean this up a little bit. Register service worker, we're not going to use that. That has to do with like offline access and things like that. That doesn't really apply to us in this particular situation. So we can delete the register service worker. Oh, this isn't saved yet. That's why it's giving me an error. There we go. Okay. All right. So what we have to do now is we have to put this all together. We need to figure out a way to give that store to app. And the way that we do that is we're going to import two different things. We're going to import something called provider. Provider is a higher order component that's from the React Redux package, and I'm going to get rid of the semicolons. It's just, the more I write it, the more it's like that anyway. So yeah, provider is a higher order component from React Redux that basically says, I'm just going to give you the store. And so here now you have access to it. The other thing that we need to do is import store from /store. And this store, remember, we are exporting a function in this is kind of a constructor function in the sense that it basically will create a new version of the store when it's fired. Therefore, that's why generally speaking you'll see this capitalized. Not all the time, but sometimes. That's fine, the React Redux. I don't care about that. We're going to install it here in a minute. So then what we're going to do from here is we're actually going to create a new instance of that store. And what we'll do is we'll say let store equal store, and remember that's a constructor function, right? So we can call it because if we go back to our reducers, actually if we go back to our store, and we see here that this is where we're importing this function, and so we're running this function. That function is going to return the result of the create store method, which is going to be a new instance of the store. So what happens is now this variable takes on the new instance of state. But then you're probably wondering, how does this all get injected into into the actual app itself? Well, we have to use this provider higher order component. Higher order component, like you could also call it a if you wanted to know how I did that, by the way, it's a control command, and then you can move it like that. Anyway, okay, so yeah, so now we have this provider component, and what we're going to do is we're going to say store equals, and then here we're going to say store. So what we're doing here is we're adding a parameter into the provider called store, and we're passing the new, how about let's do this, let's just for argument's sake say store instance. That way it's a little more clear. Instance. So we're taking the new instance, or the instance of the new store, and storing it in this variable. Then we're passing it into the provider through a prop called store. And what that does is it gives our whole app access to the store through a few particular methods that we can import. The last thing that we're going to do really quick is we're going to get all of this installed, and then we'll deal with everything else here in the next video. So let's do npm install. You know what? We're going to use yarn. Yarn add. We need React Redux, Redux logger, and I think that's it for now. Let's see if that gets rid of our errors. If we need to add anything else, we'll add it in the next video. Cool. So then we'll try yarn start again, just to make sure that everything is working. Cool. Compiled successfully. Cool. I'm happy. All right. So that's the end of this video. In the next video, we are going to show you how to connect your components to the store to get any information that you may need. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, totally leave them in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe. I definitely want you guys to be notified when I put out new content. That way you can give me even more suggestions on stuff to do. It's a great cycle. Thank you guys so much again. Have an awesome day.